All right, I'm gonna try this one more time. Hey guys, Crusty Old Crow. Back, I'm doing the Crow's Custom Creation Corner right now. Just to kind of answer a question that was just given to me in my retro Snake Eyes review by Crimson Vader 007, I believe that's how you say it. Thank you very much. And before I answer his question, because it's the video idea I had anyways, and it fell under it, I want to thank him very much. Jesus, I'm a clown. For correcting me on something that came up in my Snake Eyes review. So as you guys know, I got my retro Snake Eyes today, and I was really happy. But one of the questions I had was, why would he need a radio? He doesn't talk, and it really does look like a radio to me because of the way that it's got the slotted end like an earpiece, and then the smooth bottom. And Crimson was like, Crow, you ain't thinking, because you've seen this before. I saw it before when we all got a glimpse of the Navy diver. It never occurred to me. It's just a rectangular silencer piece, right? I think, isn't one of the new digital renders of somebody got this? I can't remember. But rectangular silencer is what it was, and it was for his pistol. I put it on the Uzi, but thanks very much, Crimson Vader, for correcting me on that. Yeah, great piece of information. But I also got asked a question about the conversions, the paints I'm using. And so what I'm going to do today, really, I'd say it's quick, but is anything I ever do quick? I don't freaking think so. Is I'm just going to kind of walk you through not how I generate a character idea in my head. That's a long, boring process of just imagination and being a child inside your head, right? Or being a critical thinker. But I'm going to just kind of tell you what I picked up along the way. Okay, so the background for me in painting is that I used to paint a lot of Warhammer 40K and Star Wars Legion miniatures and terrain and vehicles for those games. I found that a very expensive hobby. To even try and play those games is an investment that you might as well. You could buy a car for what you spend on these armies, and it wasn't sustainable because of the way these companies are designed to replace their own product and make old product obsolete over a period of time, and you're constantly spending droves. And I'll give you an example. A figurine like, let's say, good old barbecue here in Canada, $35.99. Okay, I can't buy anything but a single little miniature made of pewter or a plastic sprue for $35.99 in the Warhammer 40K line. And it's as big as my thumb, highly detailed, but doesn't have any articulation, and is meant only as a signet piece, and lends nothing for posability. You pose it as they allow you to pose it through the pieces they provide. For a minimum 5-man squad, 10-man squad, you're looking at about $100 every time, and you need several squads to play a game, so not lucrative. But I did learn how to paint, more or less, through that hobby that I had been tackling since it was introduced to me in 2002 by a friend of mine. And over the years, I learned all the hard lessons, guys. My painting was absolute shite by anybody's standards for the longest times. Either I was using the cheapest paints, the wrong brushes. I was going about things too aggressively. I had no idea how to be light and subtle. Yeah, I'm colorblind. Go figure, a colorblind guy who was a recce soldier for as long as I was, spotting camouflage in a bush and doing an amazing job at it, by the way. But yeah, the color blindness would have an effect on that. So I had to learn a whole new approach to painting as I went. And it was a slow process until YouTube came along. I transitioned out of 40K to start doing things like scale models of cars that I like. And I was really focusing on doing things like rusty cars. I liked rusty stuff. I love rat rods. I love a good banged up Bronco, a crawler Jeep, all these never perfect things. And that's what that's what I wanted to bring with conversions after I decided to get out of Hot Wheels, because that came next, and get into Joe. I was like, it's okay to be imperfect, but what does imperfect look like on a classified scale? Is it more humanizing? So when I do my conversions, to me, I feel like I'm connecting more with that character by adding my idea of a humanizing nature to somebody that needs humanity, or more threatening nature to somebody I needs a boost to their threat level. So the question is to, what a long-winded answer to that. What paints I'm using, it's the same stuff that I carried over from my collection from 40K, but it's evolved through model experience. I started with Citadel, really. It's not true. I started with dollar store paints that would come like, do I still have one up here? Yeah. Come like this. All right. Guys, this is the equivalent of putting ketchup on everything. It's it's a paint, but it's not the greatest paint. It's certainly not meant for plastic hobby designs. And I probably wasted a couple of units and years of painting miniatures before that idea kicked in, because they had so many colors for this too, right? And you could get a lot for a very minimal price, but it was the wrong way to go. Same as dollar store brushes. Do I use Citadel products now? No, but I use what I transitioned out of them, and there are some that I use. This is Catachin Flesh. This is one of the few products of flesh tones that actually lets me know that it's meant to be a flesh tone brown for African American and other ethnicity skins, that I can lighten and darken from there. I find that most other companies like Game Color, Model Color, Vallejo, Army Painter, is that Army Painter? Yeah, Army Painter. They kind of address flesh differently. They'll tell you orc flesh, they'll tell you elf flesh, they'll tell you rosy flesh, tan flesh, bronze flesh, everything like that. But they don't just have flat out Caucasian flesh, African American flesh, East Indian flesh, Mexican flesh. Like, I'm sorry to generalize, but that's what a guy like me needs labeled, right? Because my eyes are too busy trying to spot tone differences and things like that. Flesh is still something I'm learning on. That's why you see I'm basically starting all over on my Wade Collins head, because I wasn't happy with that. And I'm figuring that out before I go back and darken up that major blood head, which my general blood looks like a bloated drowning victim for that elfic pale flesh I gave him. So I use those kind of things for flesh. Airbrush paints, I have a ton of airbrushes paints, because I do have a Iowata to airbrush. I broke the pin recently, and I just haven't gotten around to getting it fixed. I was still learning how to airbrush when it broke, and I kind of enjoy the patience and tranquility of hand painting without an air compressor going off next to my head and things like that. But I did find that I can get more out of my airbrush paints if I combine them with a little bit of the standard game paint, and that helps me get different tones and things out of that. So yeah, it's essentially game color paints, model color paints, army builder paints, scale color I've played with, army paint, war paints. They have a layer system. It's a base, a layer, and a final coat, and a lot of metallics from there come from there. These are the main paint brands I'm using when I'm doing my stuff, and I do have more of them down on that rack under there. AK is another brand I've been using, but these are more metallics that I've got up there, and those were all for cars. I don't find I'm using a lot of metallics for Joe, but I haven't been challenging a lot of characters that needed a lot of metallics. I do have a couple of mine where I am thinking maybe metallics will be the way to go, but you see, I often just keep them as little featurettes pieces, like for example, Wreckage's little tablet there, that's using a metallic green. Let's see if I can get the light up on that. That's a metallic green, glitter green. And do I have that on hand here? Probably. Let's find it. No, I tucked that one away. Sorry, that's geez, I'll find that. But anyways, those little metallics are great for little features, but I can't see myself doing a lot of big pieces in there. I just don't see a world where that kind of metal in a warfare environment continues to glisten and shine. But they do have nice products for if you wanted to do chrome or some gold. I use a lot of chainmail, silver, and gunmetal. And there's a lot of different types of gunmetal. Another great Citadel product, and Citadel is the one that mainly supports the Warhammer 40K hobby market. Typhus corrosion for a mild amount of rust, say on a piece of dreadnought gear. This is a great little way to apply it. I do have a whole bunch of these bottles full of different rust effects, but that's a great way to accomplish a quick little rust effect, is just to apply a little bit of this stuff. It comes out really gritty, but dries like rust, okay? But this stuff, and I was talking to a friend who has their own channel about stuff that he does, and when we were talking about bloody, he hadn't heard of this stuff, and I wanted to find him a bottle and send it to him, but I haven't been able to find a one to replace this yet. I have a couple more places, but this is blood for the blood god. Corn. So this is actual gory, liquidy looking blood that coagulates and retains its shine and wet quality even well after it's been dried. And you can get some really good gore effects out of that. Do I see myself using that on classified? Not in the sense that I want to have guys with blood dripping out of features and make them that over the top violent. Not really appealing to me right now. But maybe some grotesques, maybe some mutates, maybe stuff that's going on in Mindbender's lab needs some of that splattered around it. That I can see myself doing. So those are good Citadel products. Another good Citadel product that I do use besides that is their washes. This is an empty bottle of null oil. Null oil is a great way if you're trying to do a blackening carbonization effect, like after you've done gunmetal over a barrel. You just do a bit of null oil and it looks like gunpowder carbon, right? It darkens everything. It's great for flamethrowers as well, darkening that end of torch's barrel so it looks like it's been in operation for a long time. Null oil. In the video you saw me do for Nunchuck, I basically did a substitution of a null oil treatment when I did my blackening wash. But they have a series of washes that you can lend depth to any color that way. So I'll use that from time to time. They also have some dry brush colors here. These are very thick paste. It's meant exactly that. It's dry brushing, using the brush and just brushing over. That's good for weathering. I do have some other weathering effects. I've got to find my favorite ones. I've been wanting to weather some of these guys better, but the ones I have that I really liked, I have packed away somewhere and I haven't been able to find them. So that I think should cover the paints. Yeah, I'm using other surface primers, but the biggest primer I am is where I learned something on YouTube, okay? Guys I'm watching on YouTube right now, if I go to my subscriptions, one of them is Matt Ma Films, who does a lot of Star Wars 6-inch conversions, and he talks a lot about painting techniques. He does a lot of photography, and a lot of his stuff is directed towards the idea of creating things to take photography images, right? Very creative guy. One of the things he taught me, and I demonstrated it, or I practiced it on my Zap, which was made from the Rick Flag my first of 2 Rick Flag figures from Suicide Squad. He talked about doing a wash over the entire figure, because when the wash dries, it actually helps the paint grip a little bit that you're using. Now, this was a technique I used, and I could see what he was saying. Yeah, it did have an effect on this figure, but it's not the same with every figure. It really depends on how that figure is molded. On a smoother figure, I find it'll wash off areas, and you have to do it a couple of times. Another guy I watch now more than ever, and where is that? It is Mythic. Where did he go? I'll just find him on here. Yeah. Mythic Customs, pardon me. This fella, Jeremy Gerard. Okay, I went down a rabbit hole featuring him in his videos recently because once I realized he had a whole bunch of problem-solving videos on there. Some of the videos I recommend you watch if you are doing Joe conversions that he is out there is, does he prime? Yes, he primes. Now, I am using a slightly different primer than him, but it's the same primer at heart, and I'm not sure if there is a difference. He highly recommends the Krylon 2-in-1s, okay? And he uses black. I think he uses flat black like I am. Mine's just a black can. His was a white. I'm not sure what the difference was. I found actually where I am in Ottawa, this is more affordable than most primer paints. This one's about a good $3 less than most. And it provides max yield on it and then leaves you, this is still drying a bit. You can see on the side. But that nice flat black layer, let me get the light going better here. A nice flat black over the product, right? So this, you would think this was officer number 97 Python Patrol, but it's not. This is actually the green officer that I did with that black. And you want to know how I know? Because the Pythonization process is such a fucking son of a bitch. I hate it. I don't mind it in the grays, but I hate it in that lime green. These guys remind me of a 7-Up commercial from the 80s. Like when I saw those green Python Patrol uniforms in the classified line, I was like, crisp and clean. And you have to be my age to know what the shit I'm talking about right now. But it is such a persistent camouflage that you could see it actually started popping through that black. So yeah, I am, there's clue number 1 of what you can expect on the channel soon. You're going to get my rendition of Python Patrol, but I'm going to carve it up with a little bit of Headhunter Scouts in there, and I'm going to show you some custom characters. But by the end of this video, you're going to see what my next, I'll tell you the next 2 characters I'm really excited about, and we're going to do a progress video on them. So the first characters, besides the headhunters that I'm doing, and you will see a squad of 4 to 6 of them by the time we're done, they're going to be dark, and that's why I brought up the Krylon. Sometimes I will have to use that black because it's so good. The way that I was taught by Jeremy, which is you do that and then you follow it up by dry brushing. Guys, I did not start doing dry brushing until recently. Like within the last 5 years, I really was like, no, I see it now. You have to dry brush a lot of stuff for a lot of different models to get the texture and the depth and the quality and the tones. Classified's no different. So once I do that black, and I'm going to hold up one of my projects I'm working on right now, you can see I've got that Snake Eyes Origins Storm Shadow torso that I had primed that black using that flat black, and it sat beautifully. And what it does is it helps alleviate some of the rub aspect, as if I were, instead of doing hand priming, if you hand prime it on there, it'll go on thick, and some joints are so tightly closed that they'll just scrape that paint right off. This Krylon product that they recommended actually bonded so well to the plastic that I have seen no rub. Dry brushing is following up with that effect. So what you want to do is you eventually want to dry brush your way up to the color you want over those joint areas, right? And if it rubs down, it's going to rub down to the black. So it's not as easy to notice than, say, like maybe a hinge that has yellow or bright blue in it, right? I did find with a lot of my customs that was a problem. That's why you don't see me posing a lot of them. But with the dry brushing, I'm going to tell you my hack, guys. I don't go and buy the high-end hobby model brushes from hobby stores. If you go to their paint aisles, like all the major hobby stores, you can get a really nice fine brush or dry brush for about 16 to 20 bucks. Well, if you go to Michael's, just the simple Michael's craft store, and you go have a look at the paintbrushes they have in their aisles for their oil painting and whatnot, you'll find every brush you need, and you'll find them on average around $9 down to some of them are like $4. Most of my brushes come from there because I go through brushes. I find that the ones I'm buying from Michael's are actually really good, and if I don't like one, I just don't buy that one again. At that same price point, there's like 6 or 7 different options, right? So I've been really kind of building up a collection of which brushes are working for me, and then a just as large collection of which brushes have not worked out for me. And I'm trying to see where I tucked that one away. It's always over there behind me. These are my throwaway brushes. If I've got to do texture effects or anything that I think the brush is going to get sacrificed, or I'm using really cheap paints to do terrain, that's what those brushes are for. But for painting classified, you want to have really good brushes. You want to have at least a few different types of dry brushes. I've got a few different diameters going on here, guys. I've got narrow, medium, wide. It really depends, because the benefit of dry brushing is it's a fast way to get depth, an idea of where the details are, transition the color out of a darker color into the lighter color you want. But it is not precise. You're going to hit things when you're dry brushing that you didn't want to hit, right? So one of the things I made sure of is that you get a good collection of brushes and you use the right brush for the right thing. Okay, so dry brushing is going to be for me layering it up to what I need for a start point on the color sets, right? So I'll stop dry brushing once I have this shirt the way I want it, these straps, the separate color I want, the undercoat for underneath his waistline, I want that base, okay? So all of that stuff is covered off just through dry brushing, and I'll slowly transition it. Mixing in between that as I'm getting closer to that color image I want, I'm going to start looking for my washes that I'm going to apply, okay? I showed you the Citadel washes. Another one I am using, where did that go? Of course, as I'm shooting the video, that's when I lose it. There it is. I don't know. Anyways, there's all types of different washes. I must have set it down, and I apologize. But I'm using a green wash by a different company right now. It's what I used on my big brawler's legs. That's all gung-ho. Those pants, I didn't repaint the pants. I just gave them a good solid wash using the green that I have. And I'm just seeing if I put it up in there by accident. Oh. Where's that at? Sorry, some of these I have to tip a certain way. No, it's not in there. When I see it, it'll be after the video's done. But anyways, yeah, I'll do my washes, and for that you need a different kind of brush. Like it's not a dry brush situation for that. I'll use either, if I really want to saturate it, I will pull out a wide bristle brush and just douse the thing, because then I'm going to dry brush over that wash when I'm done, because the recesses will be darkened and the dry brushing will just lighten everything up along the ridge lines and things like that. So I want a good brush for applying a wash. Now, if I'm not trying to saturate it, if I'm, say, trying to just work on a certain facial region, then I'll get down to a tighter bristle, tighter tip, and just apply the wash where I want it, and then spread it out and lighten it that way. As I can't speak too much to doing it with faces, because I'm still kind of feeling out how to do flesh tones. Again, it's not my forte, but I figured I would share with you what I've been learning so far. Another thing I have on hand, and I haven't really had the opportunity or the need to use it as it applies to classified, I have done it with Hot Wheels and with other models, is applying tape, taping off areas, or airbrush cutout paper, like the cutout sticky, just areas that allow you to peel it off after to retain that undercolor, right? So it allows you to do straight lines and detailing. I do see an opportunity coming up with some of these Joes and Cobras to use this. In fact, I got one on the top of my head I have to use it for. But I find this is really good if you suck at freehand, which I do. But I'm the kind of guy that's like, just because I suck at it now, it forces me to try even harder. So I'm reluctant to use this stuff a lot of the time, but it is there if I need it for straight lines. Here's that wash I was looking for. This is another company that creates a good wash. This one, I did one layer on those pants for a wrecker. Let me pull them down again. And it was a good thick change to the pants, I thought, from the way they were originally. They darkened and flattened them up and hid that camo pattern a little bit better. So washes like that I would recommend, but like I said, you're gonna probably want to do a dry brush to some of that after to bring out features and highlights. So who's the characters you're working on today? Okay, guys, you saw me. I just finished my big run on Joe's. Let's do a self-serving shot. And guys, if you've been enjoying any of these tips and want me to keep doing stuff like that for content, well, it doesn't matter. I'm going to keep still doing my conversions for content. It's what the channel half is, besides toy reviews and Joe Talk. But if you do me a favor, help me beat that algorithm, get more subscribers, like, share, subscribe. I'm going to keep doing these conversions. Yeah, oh, that wasn't... I laid record down. I should have set him back up. Get out of here, record. But yeah, I've basically finished up a good, healthy first dose of Joe's, but I haven't done enough Cobra. So the headhunters, I've told you I'm starting, and you see I've got some pieces put aside. I am doing my Dr. Mindbender. I'm combining it with the premise of a Fabius Bile from Warhammer 40k and all that other stuff. I'm going to give us a darker Mindbender, but I'm not going to go too over the top. I just want something frightening, not Saturday morning cartoon frightening. You know what I mean? For just a couple of key characters, right? But the one you see me working on right now is you'll see him sooner than most. And I got a couple secret Joes that I'm working on that'll slide in there. I am doing a Shadow Hunter with this. But I'm doing I'm doing my Endstate Shadow Hunter, but I'm going to try and retain the same principles of the old Shadow Hunter. I'm going to try and stay true to the color sets they were using back in the older designs. Not necessarily what we see in the classified line, but previous to that, those blacks, grays, browns, yellows. I want to do that, and you gotta look at the character's file card. You gotta read up and do stuff like that, and I'm glad I did, because I know for a fact I'm gonna do some custom weapons, because he ain't getting no guns. He doesn't do guns, but it gives me a place to repurpose little pieces that I've got with other figures that I can come up with cool things. And I think this might make a really cool blade at some point. It was part of those Build-A-Figures with Marvel Legends. So you're going to see me do another video later after I finish getting the early parts of my Shadow Hunter going. Where did I just set him down? You will see me adding parts to it. You will see him starting to develop into the Shadow Hunter I've envisioned for... He's basically going to lead my headhunter kill squad with those Python patrols worked into that. So I'm going to basically get at this tonight. And then probably tomorrow you'll see the part 2 of that video of my shadow tracker in development as I get into out of the dry brushing phases and into the washes and then the details and things like that. And we'll track his progress in between character reveals and toy reviews. Oh man, I can't wait till I get my snow job in Jody Shooter. Thanks again for watching these guys, and that's the last video for the day. I gotta get back at this, go make some supper, and then I am cracking on with Shadow Tracker and my Cobra Wave and some of those Joes I was talking about. You guys are awesome. You guys have a great weekend, and I hope some of that was useful to somebody. All right, see you again.